Hey everybody, and welcome to the 5th episode in my Crossy Road tutorial series. In this episode, I will be making it to where once you get hit by a car or fall in the river, like now, you won't actually just freeze, because right now, this is all that happens. I can't move, and the only way I can actually restart is to click this green flag, and that is not very good looking. So I will be making it pop up a nice game over that looks something like this, so let's hop right into it. But before we start coding, I'd like to show you the sprites and costumes you need. Today, I just have one new costume. It is called Game Over. Inside of this Game Over sprite, I have one costume called Game Over, and it is the little title I showed, and then a background, which is a big blank white box, a restart button, and then a restart button 2, which is just like a highlighted version of it, a title button, and then a title button 2, which is also a highlighted version of it. Go ahead and click on the player sprite and scroll down until you find this Game Over particle, all that stuff. And what you're going to want to do is do a broadcast new message and name this Game Over, not like that, Game Over. Then click enter. Next, let's go ahead and put that right underneath this Game Over to yes. So now let's head over to the Game Over sprite and pull out a when I receive Game Over. Now before we can worry about that, we need to pull out a when green flag clicked here. Next, let's go ahead and do a hide, a go to 0 0, and now we need to make a new sprite for the sprite only and name this clone ID. In the very beginning, let's set the clone ID to background like so. Then create clone of myself. Now duplicate all of that and do restart button, or if you can't type like me, you can just go and copy the name of the costume and paste that in, then duplicate that, and let's just copy again and do title button like so. Just duplicate the clone ID and set that to sprite at the very end. Now let's go ahead and do a when I receive update and handle these clone. Now let's do an if else clone ID equals copy the sprite and paste it in, then do go to 0 0 and switch costume to Game Over. Next, go into the score and find this look block, and then see this change size by and point in direction. Just go ahead and pull that into the Game Over sprite. Now let's just put that right before the switch costume to Game Over. Now pull the cosine into the Y, and you can delete the point in direction 90. Change size by 100 minus size divided by 4. Then go to, and you can go ahead and delete the timer minus 1. Timer times 200 times 2, and you don't need to do plus 90 for the Y position. So now this will just flow up and down and up and down. Next, duplicate this if else and change this to if the clone ID is equal to background. Go to 0 0, switch costume to background, set the size to 100%, then go ahead and set the ghost effect to 80% so it's slightly transparent, and go to 0. I already did that. If clone ID is equal to restart button. Now you can go ahead and just delete everything inside of there, and for now let's go ahead and quit there. When I receive Game Over, we should already have that. Wait 1 second, set size to 200%, show, go to front, and that is it. So now as you can see, if we get knocked out by anything, let's just try this missile, we should see that after 1 second, this Game Over pops up, and there we go. As you can see, it popped up, but there is a giant button, which I'm not sure what that is all about. Actually, I do know what that's all about. That is because all of our unused clones over here they don't know what to do. Pull out this script and just do else hide. That way, we don't have to worry about any other sprites popping up. And now as you can see, this Game Over is nice. The background is kind of white, and this is all good. Now let's go ahead and make a new variable and name this wait after Game Over for all sprites, and click enter. And now we can just go when I receive Game Over, wait after Game Over seconds, and set the wait after Game Over, which should be at the bottom, to 2 seconds. So that's just going to make it easier for us to wait the right time across several sprites, so that way we don't have to make them all the same. So now let's make the score actually pop up down below, because right now when we get knocked out, if you remember, it just kind of sticks up at the top. So go into the score sprite and do a if else equals Game Over. If the Game Over is equal to no, then we're going to do everything we have here. Else, then just do if game over is equal to go, then we're going to duplicate all of the scripts once again, but we're going to change this a teeny bit. The first thing we're going to do is delete this look block down below and do point in direction 90 instead. Then we're going to go ahead and do this change size by block down here, and we're going to change this to change size by 250 by size, all that stuff on the very bottom. Next, let's take this number times 37, then we can do a minus like so, 180, and put that into the X block there, then delete everything else there. Then duplicate this point and direction algorithm like so, and you can get rid of this timer -1, and you can also get rid of the timer -1 in the point and direction. I do not know why I did that. Times 200 times 2, then minus instead of the plus, so get rid of that plus 100, so that way it's down below on the screen, and do that for the Y. Now we'll go ahead and put that in the game over equals to go, but we don't even have the game over to go yet, so we need to do in the game over sprite, after it waits the game over time, then set that game over to go right after that. So now let's do a when I receive game over inside of the score sprite, a hide, then a wait 1 second, and change this to wait after game over score, and we're going to go ahead and set that score to 500% by getting it taken out. Our score seems to be hidden. Okay, so the reason it's not working is we have this if game over equals to 50. I want to make it to no. So now we should see that the score is back, and as soon as we get taken out, let's just get taken out by this missile. So right now it's 7, it hides, which is perfect. Then it should pop up down here. Okay, it didn't actually pop up down there. Okay guys, so it was another checking variable issue. I am not doing very good today. So right here we did if game over equals to go. We want wait after game over. So now as you can see, our score immediately pops up in there. So let's go ahead and retry this one last time and hope that we did this all good. So here we go, we're hopping, and let's get taken out by this missile. It hides, we had 19 points, and then it goes right there. So that is perfect. And if we have a very big number, it should still stay on the costume here. So let's just set the score to something insanely big. There we go, it stays right there. So it's working properly. Next, let's go ahead and make it to where once we get taken out, it actually does a cool animation where it starts at 0 and then it will wind up until it is the right score. So I explained that horribly, but I'll show you what I mean after we make it. So go ahead and make a new variable for the sprite only and name the score amount. And that was in the score, by the way. And while we're still in the score, do another when I receive game over right here and set the score amount to score. That way we can keep track of what that is. And then let's just do a super quick wait 0.01 seconds and then a set the score to 0. Now let's go ahead and do a wait 1 second and do wait after game over seconds plus 2. And now let's do a repeat 10 times and do repeat score amount and change the score by 1 like so, and then broadcast score, and that should be good, except for the fact that the game over will also be played as the clone. So we need to make a brand new variable, and inside of the score, name this clone with a question mark, and in the very beginning right here, set that clone to no. Then for the when I start as a clone, set the clone to yes. Then let's go ahead and check if the clone is equal to no. Then put that in an if statement and put that all around this when I receive game over. So now we should see that this is working amazingly and there should be a cool animation. So right now we have 18 points, we get hit by the missile and we have 0, and then it should wind up like that. So there we go. As you can see, it's actually working. Maybe we don't actually need this wait after game over. Let's just do the wait after game over seconds perfectly flat. No plus, no anything. Maybe that'll look best. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. And yeah, that actually looks better. You may also want to tweak these values. Maybe instead of -100 for the score, -90 or 95. That looks kind of better, so maybe that'll work. 1 90, and you can just play around. So I think 185 or maybe 187 looks the best. So some of the layering is wrong. Head back into the game over sprite and do a when I receive game over like so, then do a forever loop. Duplicate all of these if else's up here and delete everything in there, and just start with the if clone is background, else if it's equal to sprite, else just do nothing. So if it's equal to background, then we're going to go forward 10 layers. If it's sprite, then we're going to go 25 layers. Otherwise, we're just going to go to front. So now hopefully the layering should be a little bit better. So let's go ahead and go to, here's another river, and hopefully our layering is correct. There we go. The score is still up front, but the lily pads are behind it. So that fixed up our layering issues right there. Now let's go ahead and make the buttons actually pop up, because right now it still doesn't do anything besides display your score. So now in this else, instead of doing hide, let's go ahead and do if phone ID is restart button. Then we're going to do another if else and do if touching mouse pointer. Then we're going to switch costume to restart button 2. Otherwise, switch costume to restart button. Just the normal old restart button like that. So now it will actually be switched into the right costume, but let's go ahead and make it actually have a nice change size by. So right underneath the restart button 2, let's do 115 divided by 3, then else 100 like so. Then duplicate this go to block right here and just change this to times 3. Then do a minus block and put all the minus and all that stuff in the left and do minus 83, so it's at the bottom. You may have to adjust these and put that right underneath the if touching if else right there. And all that algorithm, by the way, goes in the Y. Then go ahead and duplicate this, and instead of restart button, just change this to title button like that. Restart button 2 to title button 2, and then title button. And next let's do go to right here 35, and then you can just do all of the same stuff for the Y. And now put that in the else statement right there, and now you can put a hide in the else like so. And I actually forgot for the restart button, instead of X is 0, let's set the X to 125. So now hopefully we should see some buttons popping up on our display once we get taken out. So here we go. Hopefully, yes, look at that. We have 2 beautiful looking buttons, and we can hover over them. It says restart and title. We have our score that did the animation, and this is actually starting to be very, very good. Now, like I said, you may have to adjust some of the values. So instead of minus 83, let's try 70. Okay, maybe not 70, that looks a little bit off. 74, just go 75. Okay, let's do 75 for both buttons. Maybe even 76, that could look a bit better. But there we go. Now we have these 2 buttons over here, but they don't actually do anything yet, but we'll get to that, don't worry. So everything stops, we can't move, and look at that, we have 38 point. It does a nice animation and the buttons pop up. Now you may be noticing now that the layering for the cars are wrong. So what we want to do is, instead of forever, go to front right here on this repeat until. When I start as a clone, go forward 5 layers like this. That way it's nice and in front of everything. Then we can do a when start as a clone, a forever loop, and then a go forward 1 layers like this for the when I start as a clone. And now, actually that was pretty easy. Look at that, boom, the layering is correct already. Yay, that is exciting. And if you notice, if we get a car to run over the chicken again, it is still in front of our little player. Now let's go ahead and make the buttons actually work. So today I'm not going to be making the title button work, because that is a lot of work to get the title screen up and running, but instead I'm going to be working on the restart button to make that all work, because there are some issues when we restart the game that we need to flush out in this episode. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Head into the game over, pull out a when I start as a clone, forever, if else, game over equals yes, and then duplicate this touching mouse pointer, then do another and, put the touching mouse pointer like that, and then mouse down, then put that in the and, then an if else in here. Oh, and I'm sorry, you're actually going to want to put that in an if, not an if else, so that way it looks like that. Then in there we can go ahead and duplicate this game over equals to yes, change it to clone ID is equal to restart button, then in the else put an if and do if it's equal to title button, and now we have the whole bones of the system worked out. So now we want to wait until not mouse down, so that way it waits until we let go of our mouse. And now let's put that in the restart button. Do broadcast start game. And for now, let's leave the title button blank because we're not going to be working on that yet. Let's just jump in the river. As you can see here, if we click this restart button, it does restart, but yeah, it doesn't quite work. So now let's do a when I receive in the start game, then we're going to repeat 10 times. Go to 00, hide, and wait 0.01 seconds, and do not delete this clone because that will clear out all of the clones we've made in the beginning right here. So now we should be seeing that hopefully once we go a bit. Now if we try to do the restart, here's another river. Now if we try to do the restart, we should see that there is quite a few bugs right here. So restart again, and there we go. This time it did work, and everything else seems to be working fine. There may or may not be a river in the middle of the road and some car. Yeah, that's totally normal. This is working perfectly. Look at that. So like I said earlier, there are some problems. So in the ground, we want to make a new message and name this create ground, like so. Then let's put everything inside of that. Now we're going to actually set the ground Y to player Y like that, and then we're going to actually put a wait 0.01 seconds above everything and do a when I receive create ground over here. Delete this clone. That way it clears out everything. So before we can start though, we need to make this create the ground in the very beginning. So in this start game right here, let's go ahead and do a create ground. So now everything should be working the same, except we need to also go into the game over and put the broadcast create ground right there. So that way it clears out all the grounds and does that. So now we should see that once we get hit, it hopefully will clear everything out. So we need to click restart, and it clears everything on our screen, and the missiles are working good. Here we go. We have a normal operating river that's not glitched, and the cars are moving around normally. Oh yes, this is exciting, and hopefully we should be able to still get hit and our score works. We restart very quickly when it's winding up the score. As you can see, it still does the wind up right there, so we start with like 1,000,000 points. How we can do that is do an if else inside of the score and do this clone equals a no, and go ahead and change this to game over is equal to yes. If it is, then we're going to change the score by 1 and all of that stuff right there. Else we're not going to do anything. Let's go ahead and now test this out. So as soon as it pops up, let's click the restart button as quick as possible. And there we go, it still is 0. No matter what we do in the very beginning, it will not mess up. So boom. And actually our score is not there. Okay, so there's some bugs right there. As you can see, if we restart quickly, it does some weird funky things. So a way we can fix that is make it to where when I receive start game in the player, all this stuff that checks that, hey, I should be taken out, then we're going to do a wait 1 second. That way if there's some leftovers of the last game, it'll have a little bit of time to wait, so that way it doesn't repeat it again. So now let's test that out, and there we go. As you can see, that is working much better. Hopefully nothing is going wrong. So now we fall into the river. Oh no, we can restart whenever we want. It'll still be 0 no matter what we do, and this restart button always works, which is amazing. Ooh, look at this, another river. Oh my gosh, 3 rivers in a row. That is actually kind of insane, my luck. Okay, here is a nice big road, so I'm just gonna go ahead and jump in this river now to make sure everything works. Look at that, our score winds up very nicely, and we can restart, and everything looks awesome. So there we go, that is how to add a game over sprite into your game. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I do hope you enjoyed, or you just learned something, how to make game overs in your own game, or if you are following along, that'd be awesome. Let me know how this video was down in the comment section below if you did enjoy it, and of course, make sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. But anyway, this has been Owen, and I am out.